What's up, everyone? Megan Olivi and Marc Raimondi here inside the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. The UFC 290 press conference has just wrapped up. First of all, I feel like a schmuck right now, dressed like this compared to you in the all-black. I mean, tell them what's up with the business game right now.
Megan, we've all seen you many times on UFC broadcasts, and you are the most well-dressed person on those broadcasts. With respect to, like, Daniel Cormier, I know DC tries to, rock the nice suits once in a while, but come on. We all know this. I've had female friends text me.
Oh!
Have I not messaged you?
Yeah, you have. That's really kind. I'm glad
asking, oh my God, where does Megan Olivi get her clothes? And I'm like, I don't freaking know. But
I know.
But I did
you
text
did,
you.
And I did share with you. So,
That's
okay,
true.
now that we got the important stuff out of the way,
yeah.
let's talk about the press conference.
They're taping this.
Right,
Okay, cool,
exactly.
Cool. All right.
Okay, so this UFC 290 press conference, open to the fans. It's International Fight Week. This is a really special week historically.
100%.
Every year here in Las Vegas, and they showed up for their favorite fighters today.
100%, and there were a ton of Mexican fans here. In fact, there was several people behind me that were saying some maybe not so savory words in Spanish. I understood them.
Oh.
I felt like I was like a Lucha Libre show with some of the stuff. There was like heckling going on when Pantoja was talking, and they were saying some salty things, but very energetic crowd. Yair Rodriguez answered his first question in English, and there were people behind me that were mad that he was not answering in Spanish, and they were saying, speak Spanish, a word that I won't repeat in Espanol. Yes.
Okay, all right, well, fair enough. Listen, I mean, there's passionate fans here. Certainly Saturday is going to be an epic night of fights. And on Saturday, it's going to be a bittersweet thing to watch Robbie Lawler compete in his final UFC fight. If you're an MMA fan, then you absolutely love Robbie Lawler. There's nobody who doesn't like him, and rightfully so. His performances, the personality. What did you think about his appearance today at this press conference?
Yeah, so I think we've all, if you've been following MMA long enough, you've seen Robbie Lawler's performances at a press conference, which are not like his performances in the cage, right? They're actually the exact opposite. In fact, there was one time in Strikeforce where he fell asleep on the dais. He was literally asleep on the stage. That was not how it was today, though. He was actually, you could tell that he was kind of moved by the crowd. The crowd was chanting Robbie a lot, even when like other people were talking. And yesterday at Media Day and today, I felt like he was starting to open up a little bit more. I mean, it took him like 20 plus years to open up in front of the press, but it felt like he was really feeling like the nostalgia, which we don't get a lot of feelings from Robbie Lawler, and I don't expect to see any of that on Saturday. But it did feel like the moment being, inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, like with Rory McDonald tonight, the fans and the media kind of giving him his flowers, deservedly so. And I think, yeah, it was kind of a different Robbie. It
was a great version to see because when we spoke to him in fighter meetings, he kind of talked about not wanting to even acknowledge a lot of it. I don't think he wanted to accept his roses, certainly not before his final fight. But it is nice when you can give somebody the credit that they deserve while they're still in front of you. Correct. And he's not, retired and in the sunset, and we're talking about him there. So it is a huge weekend for Robbie Lawler, and it's a really big weekend for these two divisions, the flyweight division and the featherweight division. I mean, today there wasn't like a lot of animosity between anybody up there on stage, but in terms of your takeaways, as we preview the co-main and the main event for UFC 290, I mean, what stands out to you the most?
I really like how confident Yair Rodriguez is, and it really came across both of these last few days at Media Day and at the press conference. He's got like his own like designed custom Mexican UFC title.
It's incredible.
Which looks amazing.
Yes.
And I'm kind of in favor of more of those in the future. Maybe if you have like enough title defenses, you can kind of like add a little bit of
I love that.
your own flair to your belt. Like Israel Adesanya, you probably could do some cool like designs for his nothing over the top, but
just covering an anime.
But possibly. But Yair has just been to me like on a different level mentally this week, because I feel like the mental game is what I think he would admit he has struggled with in the past. In fights, he's always had the talent. He's just needed to add polish, and he's needed to add kind of that mental edge. He even talked about it at the press conference, seeing a sports psychologist over the years, and how much that's helped him. And it feels like he's a different guy now. It's a really tough fight on Saturday against Alexander Volkanovski, who, may or may not be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Yeah. But I think this version of Yair Rodriguez is up to the task, and I think it's going to be a competitive fight.
Yeah, I am so looking forward to our main event. But quickly, I want to touch upon when you talk about, the mental aspect of this game, which is so big. Pantoja owns technically two wins over Brandon Moreno. We saw the one on the Ultimate Fighter Season 24, and then, of course, we saw one a couple of years ago inside the UFC octagon. Brandon is someone whose heart and mental game really propel him in those tough moments in his fights. But will it be different against Pantoja? Does he have to make it different?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be different than the last 2 fights, right? At least in some ways. And Moreno is a different fighter now than he was 5 years ago when he fought Pantoja for the second time. And he's like the stereotype of like the Mexican MMA fighter has been striking first, right? And Mexico is a big boxing country. They're good at karate and taekwondo. It's a striking game. But Moreno was actually a grappler first. His coach in Tijuana, Raul Arvizu, was a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yep. And Moreno was a great grappler right off the bat as a kid. It took him a little bit to add to his striking game. He has a great boxing coach in Jorge Capetillo, who's here in Las Vegas. And he's made a big strides in his striking, so much so that when he fought Kai Kara-France, who was one of the best, if not the best striker in the division, he was right there with him in the striking game. And I think that's going to be a big difference for him against Pantoja. And if there was some animosity today at the press conference, it might have been between those two. Nothing super heated, but it was a very intense stare down, and there is a history there. And that, how could that not come into play in some way, shape, or form in the fight? That mental, hurdle that Moreno has to get over.
Well, it's certainly a full circle moment from the very first fight on that season of The Ultimate Fighter to now a fight for the flyweight world title. We'll see how it all plays out. Marc is going to go do some modeling on the strip because he's dressed so nicely, and then come back for the Hall of Fame, because you might as well, show it off, Marc. Show it off to the world, and we'll see you for the fights Saturday night.
Thanks, Megan.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.